Hey, welcome to the Book of Dad Radio Show. I'm Dr. Robert Benson. As always, before we get started, we want to say thank you to Jehovah. Thank you for His Son, Jesus Christ. Thank Him for our families and work and our ability to do the things we're able to do. And of course, I'm hanging out with my main man, the engineer extraordinaire, ASG.
What's up, Smooth Biscuits?
Man, we at KFC, man, with the smooth biscuits. Come on now.
That's like
that was a good one.
Me, man.
They were a basketball team, weren't they?
Yep.
All right. Hey, speaking of Cornbread Earl and me in sports, we got a great guest today. A very, very good friend of mine and an attorney and a guy who is so far into the throes of sports right now. We're going to just pick his brain and ask him about everything we can think of about sports. What's up, Terry McRae? How you doing, my man?
Hey, Dr. Benson, good to be on your show again, sir. Thank you so much, Ed. Good to have you again. Appreciate you guys and looking forward to this conversation today.
Great. Hey, Terry McRae and I go way back. You know, both, you guys know I was a military guy. And when I got out of the military, I got into school systems and I was a basketball coach. Guess who my assistant coach was? Terry, how did we do that year?
Well, hey, Rob, we did great that year, but the part you always leave out is you call me at work and say, hey, Terry, just want to let you know, I just got this job teaching middle school and I'm going to be the head basketball coach and you're going to be my assistant coach. Okay, hey, I'll talk to you later, man. All right.
That is about how it went. But on the real, that's not how Terry and I first met. Terry and I first met because Terry was my son's coach. And we went out there, here's this young looking guy, he's gonna coach my son, who I thought I knew everything. But long story short, I pull up in my ride and I got my plate on the car. And he looked at the car and he said, is that your car? I said, yeah. He said, I knew it was something I liked about you. He said, you had to drive the car because I didn't like you at all before I saw your car. I always had all kind of opinions, didn't you, about how they should play and all this other kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I appreciate all the input.
Obviously so. But Terry, let's talk about what you're doing right now, man. I know you're in the middle of the way that the landscape, if you will, surrounding sports at all levels has pretty much changed. And you're in the throes of that now, especially from the youth standpoint. Now, let's talk right now about your youth stuff, the gig that's going on with that and where you're going. And we're going to dig a little further deeper into sports in general in a minute. Talk to us.
Yeah, Rob. So you see today I'm representing Worldwide Hustle. I formed Worldwide Hustle in 2019 to give my middle son, Devin, opportunity to play travel basketball. And from that program, his team went on to win 11th and 12th place in the world AAU, received medals. And based on that performance, we applied for and were accepted by New Balance Next Tour. So we are now playing on an official sneaker tour. So the New Balance gear, I have New Balance gear, New Balance tennis shoes, New Balance uniforms. So key point, we're on the New Balance tour. We're not New Balance sponsor yet. We're trying to play on to the sponsor tour. But what that does, Rob, is giving kids an opportunity here in Metro Atlanta. We're out here east side of Atlanta. We are now playing in front of college coaches, our next tournament for the live period, which you and I know, Rob, the way we grew up, having an opportunity like this for the kids to get this type of exposure. And it's really, from a money standpoint, it's priceless. And a perfect example, Rob, and you know how this works. I had a kid who never starts, 6'8" guy. I wanted him to play, but he just wasn't doing very well. I put him in because the first team wasn't doing well. This kid played the game of his life. Used all 6'8" of his frame, blocked shots, 12 points, went 5 for 6 from the line, free throw line, just dominated. And he got picked out to be player of the game by the head scout of New Balance. So that's just a great story of one of my players who really wouldn't get much playing time. When his moment came, he did what he was supposed to do. And from that, Rob, he's 6'8" and sophomore, still growing. So, he's going to get he just needed to be found. He's going to be okay.
Absolutely. Well, the thing that I always say, man, is sports does for about anyone, it creates a plethora of positive outcomes, if you will, but more importantly is camaraderie. Kids get a sense of accomplishment from doing what they do. And of course, more than anything else, it's activity. I mean, in this world of information technology, where kids are glued in front of the TV screen, playing video games all day, it is absolutely a necessity to get them outside. But let me share one of my stories with you about that, because I coach baseball, right?
Right.
So when you coach it, I had a kid on the team, man. His mom brought him out there with the glove for the wrong hand. So he didn't know nothing about baseball.
Right.
So here we go, later on in the season, and because of how significant sports are, he was still on the team. I mean, he was content just to be on the team, So last game, we put him out there on the field, and kid gets up the bat, and he hits the ball and he rocks it. It goes straight up in the air. So our kid, who's skillless and got the wrong glove on, he stands up under it. He's like, all of a sudden the ball comes down and he catches it. It was the greatest moment of that kid's life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I get a little emotional thinking about it, but that sense of accomplishment and that kind of thing is what really does what sports do for people. So
Right.
I don't know that anything else has given me a sense of confidence like that except for sports. What do you think?
No, I definitely agree. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ed.
Oh, sorry, Terry. I was going to say, I think that when it comes to your formative years and you're growing up, sports is a great way to teach so many different aspects of life. You teach teamwork, you teach camaraderie, you teach respect, and you teach the art of competition. And those are things that are important. And what I wanted to ask you, Terry, was when you're dealing with younger people in sports, you have different levels, right? So I wanted to know how long do you intend to follow that group, or are you limited to maybe 15 to 16? Are you going to follow them into college? Are you going to move on into, because I know you're tied in with New Balance, and Rob and I were talking earlier about how the N1 mixtape tour changed basketball outside of the NBA. And, things didn't go well in the end of that, but it's good that New Balance and others are still sponsoring young people so they can get opportunities like you guys just talked about. Tell me how you think you want to follow those kids to the next level or prepare them for the next level.
No, that's a great question. And what I will tell you is previous to this, I was coaching high school basketball, and that's kind of where I proved my mettle. Rob, went to state Final Four 2 years in a row, 3 regions, and I have kids playing college ball. So I'm still in touch with them. So the plan for Worldwide Hustle would be to graduate. My son, Devin, is class of 2025. So I have 2 classes now that I'm trying to get as many college scholarships as possible. And basically, Devin has already told me, Ed, when he makes it to the pros, he's sponsoring Worldwide Hustle like the other pros do. So him and my older son have already said they're going to come back and they're going to coach the program to keep it going into, forever until their kids get through it. So it continues to give. And that's a great question. And Rob, one reason why him and I are so close, I coached his son, Andrew, when he was 7 or 8.
Yeah.
7 or 8 years old. Yeah. He's 20-some now, and he still calls me coach. He still calls me coach and remembers, because our Little League season, all the other sport moments he's had, we were 1 game away from a perfect season.
That's right.
It still remembers that all these years.
Absolutely. And as I said before, that sense of accomplishment. But guys, we need to take a quick break. So we're going to do that here, but we're going to come right back and finish talking to Terry. Well, this is a great topic. And guys, we can talk about this all day. We'll be right back.
See why listeners from over 150 countries around the world follow the Book of Dad radio show. Join Dr. Robert Benson and Eddie G as they chat with special guests who share their stories and information that will change your life. Watch and listen on lifeandspiritonline.com or subscribe to the Book of Dad radio show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcast. Brought to you by the NASCA Network.
Hey, welcome back to the Book of Dad radio show with Dr. Robert Benson and me, Eddie G. Today, we have a dynamic coach, Terry McRae, who is a good friend, and he's doing great things for the youth in America. I had a question for you, Terry. When we talk about youth sports, and now we talk about high school and college, with the new NIL rules and the exposure to money with some of these younger people, tell me your position on actually preparing people. Because think about this. How many NBA players do you know or have you heard of that were millionaires and end up going broke, right?
Right.
And primarily the reason was they didn't have anything to prepare them for that level of money, right? So you're a guy, you're 18 years old, you make 40 million and you're just throwing it away. So what do you think about the idea of introducing maybe not that amount of money, but large amounts of money to younger teenagers, and they're being exposed to this? What should we do to prepare them for that?
No, that's a great question, Ed. And I'm all for people getting paid for what they do. When we grew up, we always had jobs, delivered newspapers, shoveled snow, cut grass. We always had a way to make money. These kids nowadays, they're so in their time, the way things are set up it's a lot harder for them to have jobs and do things the way we used to do. So if you can use sports to make things better, and maximize what you're already doing to make money, I think it's a great thing. But it comes back to what you're saying, the educational class, education and how to do money. And that also comes from an African American community being educated about how to use money, period. Because we're so used to coming up struggling, we never really get that same exposure to how do you manage wealth? How do you build wealth? How do you invest? How do you save? All these things are part of the education system that when we're fighting for certain types of banning books in class and things of that nature, we need to talk about educating people on money. So when we do have these NIL deals, how do we monetize the TikTok videos that the kids are doing? Because I will tell you, Rob, you got to see some of the videos my kids do. They do TikTok videos. They think they are professional athletes right now. So they're taking pictures of themselves at the pool in the hot tub. We just won. So they are getting their looks, they're getting their follows, and they're trying to build up so they can start getting paid for social media. We are actively engaging and trying to get more followers.
Absolutely. To quote a friend of mine, what he used to say to me all the time is that if you can't manage $5, you can't manage $5 million. And it all kind of starts with that foundation. I still have that problem today. $5 burns right through my hands like crazy. But interestingly enough, not to get too far off of that topic, you guys know Giannis Ante, the guy that plays from Milwaukee, was on USA Today or Good Morning America recently. Say again?
You can't say his name, can you? Because I can't either.
Giannis.
Okay. Yeah, that dude.
The Greek freak.
The Greek freak. But yeah, man, I mean, he was so aware of his finances that he actually opened up like 9 different accounts in different banks because he understood the $200,000 rule. Wow, a kid that young doing something like that? And now he's actually sharing that information with other people. But again, that's a discussion we can have forever. But what I want to do is talk a little bit now about the fact that sports are now being a whole lot more legally impacted by betting. You couple that with the fact that now it's okay for college athletes to make money too. So there is this major grab bag attack, if you will, on the money surrounding the sport itself on so many different levels. What are the legal implications there? And, we've heard the terms point shaving, all of those things that contribute to someone trying to determine the outcome of the game. I officiated basketball for years, and we've even had cases where referees have been actually sentenced in federal prison for those types of things. Where do you see this going right now because of this new exposure or over betting and addressing of the sports scene in general?
So there's 2 schools of thought. If you look at prohibition with alcohol, once you made it legal, it took some of the taboo off of it, and the government was able to regulate it better. As you understand, though, wherever money's involved, when people are betting a lot of money, betting's emotional. And when people start betting money they don't have, and we get outcomes that aren't favorable and things are on the up and up, bad things can happen because there's bad actors involved. So I think especially professional sports is trying to do a good job of making it legal and trying to put things in place. The guy from the Falcons got suspended for betting on games while he was while he wasn't on injured reserve. He bet on a Falcons game and they suspended him for a year. They just had an incident in China where they suspended 2 teams they didn't think that they were putting forth enough effort in their playoff series, so they banned both of those teams and the coaches for a year. So they're looking at things a lot deeper because so much money is involved. And if we're going to allow betting, we can't allow it to affect the integrity of the game.
That's an interesting thing, man. Speaking of integrity of the game, I want to talk very, very briefly about some of the antics and how during the playoffs, things get very, very tense. And we're starting to see physical collision behaviors that are threatening the careers of athletes. I mean, like, for instance, I don't want to mention any names, but there's some players out there right now that I know if I was playing, we wouldn't be playing basketball anymore after some of these fouls I'm saying. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Yeah. What do you think about that, Terry? And then let Ed chime in because, Ed was a really, really good basketball player at one time. He's not anymore, but he was at one time.
I'll tell you what, though. I'm a Warriors fan, and Robert, I know what he's getting at. But I agree. I mean, things change over time as far as the way the game is played. I think one problem is personalities get into these things where people build a brand. I'm building a brand as a bad boy, like Dylan Brooks. He's talking trash just to talk trash. He's definitely not better than the people he's talking trash to, right?
No, he's not.
Anyway,
right.
He said something about LeBron today. He's asking for trouble, man, right? But that's his brand. And it's almost like the music industry. If you look at a lot of the young players, they try to see who can come up with the craziest hairstyle, right? And it's not an act. It's really so you can stand out because there's a lot of competition there, and it comes back to money again, right?
Right.
So some of it taints the game because you don't want your children watching it and thinking that it's okay. And number 2, you don't want somebody to get hurt and their career. That's just not good for anybody. What do you think, Terry?
Well, no, I agree with you. And, Rob didn't want to call names, but I'm going to call it out. This will be the second time in a row if the Warriors lose that Draymond Green has cost his team because his antics, he doesn't get a benefit of the doubt. So I want to kind of take him out of the fold because he's such a repeat offender. You can't give him grace because he hasn't learned his lesson. Right. Even if that was a bogus, he's just not the good example. But the ones what happened to Ja and what happened to Giannis, those fouls, that charge needs to go away from basketball. That stepping in front of people, stepping up in front of people when they're in the air already, that's a non-athletic play that should not be rewarded with anything, and people are just getting hurt. So, Rob, I think you know this. The way I teach my players to take a charge is actually playing defense in a defensive position. I do not do the stand there like a statue because to me, first, that's not an athletic. That's not athletic. And if it's not athletic, it shouldn't be in the game. And Ja getting hurt, these high-flying players getting hurt, especially now that we've taken all when you used to play, how hard the fouls were, they wouldn't even – at least they would foul you straight up. You're getting fouled. That undercut, anything undercutting your landing is wrong.
Yeah. Hey, guys, again, we have definitely walked over the break threshold. This is a great discussion because, to me, there's a bunch of other things that contribute to this. And Ed, you made another good point because you're talking about individualism and accepting individualism in a team sport. And that's the complex or the interesting aspect of it, or the genius of coaching comes into play, which is what Terry does. And we're going to talk to him a little bit more about that when we get right back. Book of That Radio Show, Dr. Robert Benson, Eddie G, and Terry. We'll be right back.
You have something special. You have greatness in you. Hello, I'm Les Brown, Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. I want you to spread the word to your family members and friends to listen to Les Brown Greatness Radio BOD.com. Absolutely. And let me share with you why we're going to be focusing on positive things, because whatever you focus on the longest becomes the strongest. And now more than ever, when the suicide rate has increased over 33%, when the suicide rate of young children between 5 and 11 has doubled, people feeling hopeless and stressed out and powerless. We need programming that can bring out the greatness in them. And that's what we will be focused on. When you listen, it will be an experience that will transform your life. Les Brown, GreatnessRadio.com. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, and we're right back, right where we left off. We were talking to Terry and Ed, and we just, it's kind of difficult to structure a conversation around an emotional topic between three testosterone-filled gentlemen. So
I'm old. I lost all my testosterone.
no, man, I bought some at Walmart yesterday.
I was going to buy some today.
But on the real though, Terry, we left off talking about protecting the careers of athletes because of this, the physicality, and we also talked about the money aspect and how those things were in the past able, or a person's desire or need to have it has been very, very destructive in the lives and careers of a lot of young athletes. It appears that this NCAA regulation has made a special step to try to do away with those things. Do you think that this new law is going to remedy these problems, or do you see things getting even potentially worse, considering the desire to make money as it comes into to the fold, if you will?
Rob, I think you're seeing it with the NCAA tournament. NIL has changed the landscape of college sports. A kid can go from a mid-major to a major program, or stay at a mid-major and have all seniors if they're having money. And as you're seeing, these no-name schools per se can compete with the blue blood schools because the money has leveled the playing field. And now you can take a kid who was maybe 10th or 11th at a Kentucky. Oh, I can go to a smaller school, make money, and come see them in the tournament and get the same thing out of it. So from that standpoint, I think it's leveling the playing field, Rob.
Oh, wow. Okay. Let me ask you this now. Along those same lines and that train of thought, do you see a trajectory of sorts where we're going to start seeing more professional leagues develop? Like I say, because, I mean, for years, the Big Three has held athleticism in general hostage in NFL, Major League Baseball and hockey, and, of course, basketball. But those sports tend to hold people's hopes and dreams hostage. Do you see like more WFLs and CNBAs, et cetera, coming, and do you see them being able to level off and compete and make money at the levels that those other organizations are doing?
I think that last year's experiment with the USFL, the way they did it with the backing of TV, as long as football is on TV, Rob, at the right time, people are going to watch it. I mean, my wife kind of, when NFL season starts and ends, she's like, okay, I got my husband back, because during NFL season, I know what I'm doing Monday, Thursday, and Saturday and Sunday. I know what I'm doing those 4 days. Football is going to be on. So, and then, once, we're basketball fanatics. Once June something hits and the finals are done, we love baseball, but it doesn't take up the same type of time as the NFL and NBA. So, yeah, I think there's an appetite for it, Rob, where with NIL, with betting's fueling things, because people bet on everything.
Everything.
And it's crazy. Like gaming, you can get a scholarship now for gaming, Rob, being a video game player.
Yep.
They got AAU programs for esports now. So all that, you can make money just playing video games. So anything that can get monetized and get an audience, I think you're onto something with more leagues. Yes.
Hey, let me. I know you was getting ready to jump in there real quick, but let me ask one more question about that. And it's kind of a shifting gears, but because we're getting so much more attention with sports with money, do you think that the patriotism thing that Kaepernick was dealing with, do you see that resurfacing and becoming another issue? Or do you think that we're just going to basically funnel out those patriotism and those ceremonial type things from sports altogether?
As divisive as America is right now, you never know what's going to cause it to creep back up. And I think that's just, we're at the time with the kneeling. I think the kneeling, the time was a little too early than the Black Lives Matters movement. So it became more woke, I guess. Everybody's woke now. So it's more woke for everybody to allow everything to go on. So I don't know, Rob. The patriotism thing is when we're not at war, when we don't have anything, people really don't have anything to rally around. But sports right now, I believe, is just rooting for your team and betting money to make money. I think that's really where we are right now versus holding up the flag and things of that nature.
Thanks.
I was going to say on the betting point, with this gig economy, and there's so many different ways now to make money, kind of levels the playing field for a lot of people. Young people young people who've never worked for anybody. They go straight from college to starting their own business, and they're killing it, right? And when you look at the different ways money is made nowadays, like you said, Terry, about the betting is changing everything. If you think about the women's tournament in college this year, it was here. It was great. But look how long the WNBA has been struggling.
Right.
There's a turnaround coming because, like you said, people just want to bet on something. So more opportunities, all the bettors, whether they like the sport or not, they want to make some money. But in a good way, it helps the sport because more people watch it. And I think what happened this year with the women's college tournament is really going to help the WNBA as well as women's sports altogether. That was great.
Absolutely. Hey, I just want to bring up one more point. It's kind of a societal issue, but I want to ask Terry for his yay, nay, and a quick quip on it. What do you think about transgenders in sports right now, Terry? Give us a legal perspective and a personal one on that.
Yeah, Rob, as you know, different states are putting different regulations. So it's a state right issue right now. But chromosomes, when you have a male athlete with a person with male chromosomes competing against women who we know are women, they have a genetic advantage. And as we've been talking about integrity of the game and competitive advantage, we really need to look at that in a way that is not discriminatory, maybe make their own division, make their own league or something of that nature. But that competitive advantage of having males versus females is not good. And like Ed just said, the women's game is taking off. So to have something that's going to prevent them from playing at the highest level, because now, no fault of their own genetically, they have to compete against a person with male chromosomes. It's just not fair, and it's wrong. It's wrong for a competitive balance. Just like steroids is wrong, just like illegal, all that stuff, competitive advantage, we need to find a better way.
I love that comment because like when I refereed ball, one thing we used to always say is advantage, disadvantage. Is what the person did or what did they do? Did it create a disadvantage for the competition? And that's what your job was to do, is to make sure that happened. But Terry, wow, man, we can talk about this forever. And you're a great guy. You're in. I know you can play a little ball. Well, maybe not very good, but you can play.
I am semi-retired, Rob.
But that it's been a great show, bro. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us, Terry. Yeah.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for what they said.
Good.
Hey, I just want to say thanks to Terry for coming on and giving us some insight, because there's so many things that are involved in sports that can really help young people grow. And it's almost like the military, right? You guys were in the military. When you look back and you say, hey, I learned this, I learned how to be this way, I learned leadership, I learned all those things. There's different things in life that give you a foundation for the future. And sports is one of them. So we appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, Ed, real quick, Rob, like I said, I consider this a ministry for me. And you started off giving thanks to Jehovah and Jesus Christ. And for me, working with young people in sports gives them a positive outlet from the bad things that are out there so they can be focused on something that keeps them good, physically fit, mentally focused, and then also from an academic standpoint, making sure that they're be in a position where they can succeed in life academically and move on to go to college. So I thank you guys for giving me this opportunity to talk about this. And then, we'll talk about fundraising for my team on the next show, Rob.
That's going to happen. But until then, I won't even throw a quote out there after that one. But really, though, let me just say this. Hey, same sheet of music, and that's what sports are all about. It's been a Book of Dad radio show. I'm Dr. Robert Benson with my main man, Eddie Ice G, engineer extraordinaire. And again, thank you, Terry. We enjoyed you having you, man. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you, gentlemen.